When the ice-blue feather fan appeared in Bai Ming's hand, the temperature in the heavens and earth suddenly plummeted. Snowflakes slowly drifted down from the sky, and an indescribable sense of oppression began to slowly emanate from the fan. This kid has actually forced Big Brother Bai Ming to use the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan. Bai Bin looked at the scene, his expression shifting between dark and light. The Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan had been given to Bai Ming by the clan elder, recognizing his extraordinary talent, and normally, Bai Ming would never use it against an ordinary enemy. Only when facing equally powerful opponents, like Kong Ling of the Nine-Colored Peacock clan or Zhong Qingfeng of the Kunpeng clan, would he consider using it. But now, facing a young human who had just broken through to the 7th grade supreme, Bai Ming was forced to use this powerful artifact. The implication was clear: the strength of Mu Chun, whom he had once looked down upon, had already reached a level that he could no longer ignore. However, no matter how strong this kid is, it should be over now. Bai Bin gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with venom. The talent and strength Mu Chun displayed made him envious. And since this person had already made an enemy of him, it was better to deal with him here and now. Such a genius should be nipped in the bud. With Bai Ming's 8th grade supreme strength, coupled with the power of the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan, even an 8th grade beast spirit would be instantly killed, let alone someone like Mu Chun. On the other side, Jiu Yu, Han Shan, and the others were anxiously watching the arena. They had originally thought that Bai Ming would delay a little longer before using the quasi-sacred artifact, giving Mu Chun more time to prepare. But to their surprise, Bai Ming was decisive, and the moment he realized Mu Chun might not be an ordinary 7th grade supreme, he immediately summoned the quasi-sacred item. With the power of the quasi-sacred artifact, Bai Ming's combat ability would be significantly enhanced. In the sky, Bai Ming stood in mid-air, gently waving the feather fan in his hand. His eyes gleamed with an icy, bone-chilling light. After summoning the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan, he didn't waste any time. His spiritual energy surged within him and poured into the fan. Whoosh! With a sudden sweep of the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan, an overwhelming ice-blue cold current erupted, turning the sky into a frozen world. The cold current formed a tornado, howling as it charged towards Mu Chun. Where it passed, the air solidified into ice crystals. The cold current contained an incredibly terrifying spiritual energy fluctuation, and that extreme cold was enough to make even other 8th grade supremes wary. Moreover, the cold current was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it swept over and directly slammed into the great sun indestructible body. Crack. The thick layer of ice rapidly spread across the great sun indestructible body's massive form. Within just a few breaths, it turned into a lifelike ice sculpture, exuding a piercing cold. Boom. However, the ice covering lasted only a moment. From within the great sun indestructible body, a violent and scorching golden light erupted, shattering the thick ice in an instant. The great sun indestructible body stood tall once more, and the golden light grew even more dazzling. However, Mu Chun, standing atop it, grew increasingly serious. He knew full well how much energy had been expended to break through the ice layer earlier. With the help of the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan, Bai Ming's extreme cold spiritual energy had clearly been greatly enhanced, making him much harder to deal with. Mu Chen's gaze flickered. Suddenly, he formed a seal with his hands, and golden light erupted, quickly forming 2 intercepting heaven staffs in front of the great sun indestructible body. They pierced through the void, shooting straight toward Bai Ming. However, facing the previous attack that had caused him some difficulty, Bai Ming didn't even bat an eye. With a sudden flick of the feather fan, a torrent of icy cold rushed out, instantly turning the flying golden staffs into ice sculptures, which then shattered. Indeed, he's gotten much stronger. The fan he holds is no ordinary artifact. Mu Chun squinted his eyes. Bai Ming's spiritual energy was already of the extreme cold attribute, and with the addition of the Ice Phoenix Spirit Fan, it was as if his power had been greatly amplified. At this point, even among the 8th grade supremes, he was undoubtedly formidable. If these are all your tricks, then prepare to die, Bai Ming said indifferently, waving his feather fan. His cold eyes glanced at Mu Chun as he spoke. Then without waiting for a response, the fan slowly rose, hovering in front of him. Bai Ming formed a seal with both hands, and immediately, overwhelming spiritual energy surged from his body like a flood, continuously pouring into the feather fan. As the spiritual energy flowed in, the feather fan rapidly expanded, growing to a size of over 100 feet in just a few breaths. The fan gradually transformed into a crystal-like ice structure, looking dazzling and translucent. Looking at the ice crystal-like fan, Chen felt a sharp sting all over his body, and his expression grew even more serious. Clearly sensing a tremendous danger, the torrent of cold air poured out from the fan, and soon, the originally ice-blue color began to shift to a deep blue, indicating an even greater destructive power. Bai Ming's cold gaze fixed on Chen, and the corner of his mouth once again curled into a murderous smile. Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan, destroying Frost Phoenix. Bai Ming's hand seals suddenly changed. The Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan slowly tilted, and its shimmering fan surface suddenly waved toward Chen from a distance. Boom! It was as if the world itself turned dark and cold. Endless deep blue cold currents surged from the fan, and as they howled, they transformed into a deep blue ice phoenix, about 1,000 feet in size. The freezing aura emanating from its body was enough to turn an 8th grade Supreme into a frozen statue. Outside the square, many powerful warriors shuddered, their faces filled with horror. They could sense that the spiritual energy within them was gradually freezing. They were merely being affected by the cold current. Had they been directly in its path, they would have turned into lifeless ice statues before the deep blue ice phoenix even arrived. Such terrifying cold currents. The many strong fighters were shocked. Bai Ming showed no mercy. This attack almost fully unleashed the power of the Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan. With this strike, not even Chen, but even Kong Ling and other 8th grade Supremes would need to exert their full strength to resist. That kid is finished. Bai Bin sneered. Although Chen had some abilities, forcing Bai Ming into this situation was both his strength and his misfortune. The Frost Phoenix howled as it advanced. Bai Ming's expression seemed to darken slightly, clearly feeling the immense drain from such a terrifying attack. However, this battle was nearing its end. Whoosh! The Frost Phoenix swept in, and frost appeared all over Chen's body that a chilling aura began to invade him. Even with his current physical strength, he felt the sting that if he allowed the Ice Phoenix to strike his body. Even though his Dragon Phoenix body cultivation had reached the 2nd stage, he would likely be turned into a frozen statue that a white vapor flowed from Chen's mouth and quickly froze into ice in front of him. He slowly closed his eyes, giving up resistance. Bai Ming sneered upon seeing this, but his smile lasted only a moment before his brows furrowed. He saw a black vertical eye slowly opening on Chen's forehead. What is that? Many of the teams that had been stunned by Bai Ming's terrifying attack also saw this, and immediately gasped in disbelief. Jiuyu and the others let out a sigh of relief. Chen had finally summoned the Annihilation Eye. This object was a quasi-holy artifact, and if used correctly, it could very well stop Bai Ming. The Annihilation Eye opened, its mysterious black light swirling around. Chen flicked his fingers, and a torrent of spiritual energy surged out. Within that torrent was pure and massive spiritual energy. The many strong fighters widened their eyes in shock, realizing that the torrent was composed of supreme spiritual liquid. This was no small amount. The supreme spiritual liquid in this vast torrent must be at least 1,000,000 units. Chen changed his hand seals, and immediately, the Annihilation Eye emitted a powerful suction. Like a giant whale sucking in water, it began to absorb the supreme spiritual liquid, over 1,000,000 units, into the EYEAS. The supreme spiritual liquid poured in. Black ripples spread across the Annihilation Eye, which, from a distance, appeared to be a black hole on the verge of explosion. Playing tricks. Bai Ming's eyes narrowed as he saw this, but he soon sneered, and no matter what tricks Chen had, with this full-force attack, the outcome would certainly be decided. Buzz! A black halo emitted from the Annihilation EYEAS. Chen's slightly closed eyes snapped open. He suddenly formed hand seals again. Annihilation Eye. Annihilation Divine Light. The black vertical eye suddenly widened, and in the next instant, It felt as if the entire world had turned dark. All the light seemed to be swallowed by that black vertical eye. Within the pupil, a huge black beam of light suddenly shot out. The beam was so dark it sent a chill through the heart, and while there was no violent spiritual energy fluctuating from it, when the black light shot out, all the powerful beings present felt a sudden chill run down their spines, their scalps tingling. Gio and the others also wore grave expressions. The beam that erupted from the annihilation eye was clearly far stronger than when it had eradicated the 8th grade beast spirit last time. What remained uncertain was whether such a terrifying attack could withstand Bai Ming's equally terrifying offensive. Between these two quasi-holy artifacts, which was more powerful? It seemed that this direct confrontation would immediately reveal the answer. Under their slightly anxious gazes, the black beam pierced through the heavens and earth, ultimately whistling through the air without fear, crashing directly into the oncoming frost phoenix. In an instant, the world fell silent. When the black beam, which pierced the sky, collided heavily with the oncoming frost phoenix, the entire world instantly turned dark. At that moment, it seemed even the heavens and earth feared such a terrifying impact. The impact didn't create the huge sound one might expect. Instead, it was accompanied by an eerie silence that made one's heart race. However, this silence didn't last long. Everyone soon witnessed an extremely violent cold current bursting out from the darkness. Crack! Where the cold current passed, the sky instantly froze, transforming into a world of ice. But this ice wasn't the previous ice blue hue. Instead, it was a dark color, mixed with two terrifying forces. The violent cold current swept through, covering the massive altar in thick frost. Only 2 other battlefields remained unaffected, where similar overwhelming spiritual power erupted, repelling the cold currents. Caught in the incredible aftermath, the fierce battles of Kong Ling, Zhong Qingfeng, and the others momentarily paused. They all looked up in shock, their gazes drawn toward the terrifying source of the shockwave in the distant sky. That Mu Chun can actually resist Bai Ming? The 4 of them were shaken upon witnessing this scene, and their expressions gradually grew serious. Previously, none of them had considered Mu Chun to be a strong opponent of the same level, so they hadn't believed that his provocation of Bai Ming would end well. But this scene clearly made them realize they had underestimated him. Kong Ling's beautiful eyes flickered slightly. Then she shook her head and silenced. Mu Chun was indeed an unexpected surprise. But fortunately, she had no personal grudges with him. Otherwise, having such an enemy would be quite troublesome. It looks like I don't even need to help. This kid can keep himself alive. Lu Ho of the Heavenly Ape Clan grinned self-deprecatingly. Just before, he had said that even if Mu Chun lost, he could still save him, but now it seemed that the young man clearly didn't need any assistance. Zhong Qingfeng of the Kunping clan also gave Mu Chen a deep look. He had heard of Mu Chen's name long ago. It seemed there were some conflicts between him and Zhong Tong. There were rumors that Zhong Tong had wanted to ask him for help, and his initial plan was to offer his assistance if the opportunity arose. But now, seeing the current situation, he decided to abandon that thought. He might warn Zhong Tong not to provoke this ruthless person. Given Mu Chen's displayed combat power, he should be able to hold Bai Ming off for a while. That's good. Even if he can't stop him, at least he won't let Bai Ming easily acquire the immortal bird inheritance blood. Damn it. As the others mulled over their thoughts, Bai Ming in the dark sky had a gloomy expression as he gazed into the distance. There, the black beam and the frost phoenix were almost evenly matched, each occupying half the sky. They were both fiercely eroding each other, trying to annihilate one another, but in the end, neither had succeeded, leaving the situation in a deadlock. But this deadlock was clearly not what Bai Ming wanted to see. That he couldn't believe that with his 8th grade supreme strength, aided by a quasi-holy artifact, he couldn't erase a mere 7th grade supreme human kid. Today, you think you can defeat me? You're dreaming. A cold, malicious light flickered in Bai Ming's eyes. He then changed his hand seals, and immediately, the cold currents bursting from the Frost Phoenix spirit fan surged wildly, continuously sweeping out in an attempt to destroy the devastating black beam completely. Mu Chen stood atop the great sun indestructible body. He could clearly sense the increasing pressure brought on by the Frost Phoenix, that it was evident that Bai Ming was continuously amplifying his spiritual energy, trying to win. You truly underestimate the attack I launched with the cost of 1,000,000 supreme spiritual liquids, Mu Chen thought with a hint of sarcasm. Each activation of the annihilation, I consumed vast amounts of supreme spiritual liquid, a loss that even Mu Chen felt was painful. However, the only consolation was that after absorbing such an immense amount of supreme spiritual liquid, the power of the Annihilation Eye's attack was indeed well worth it. With that thought, Mu Chen didn't hesitate. His mind moved, and the black vertical eye on his forehead suddenly burst forth with rings of black halos. Within these halos, intricate black runes seemed to form. Whoosh! A thin black beam shot from the Annihilation Eye, rapidly merging with the massive destructive black light clashing with the Frost Phoenix eye in an instant. The destructive light swelled, and terrifying black shockwaves radiated out, tearing apart the nearby space with cracks. Break! A faint voice escaped from Mu Chen's lips. Boom! The moment the words left his mouth, the terrifying black beam surged forward like the decree of a god of destruction. The black light quivered, and in an instant, it pierced through the massive Frost Phoenix. A giant black hole appeared on the Frost Phoenix's body, and the darkness continued to invade, slowly engulfing the creature in shadow. At the same time, Bai Ming's face changed drastically. His eyes filled with disbelief. The strongest attack launched with the Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan had not only been blocked by Mu Chen, but had been broken through completely? How is this possible? Bai Ming growled with a twisted expression, his face contorted in rage. Whoosh! However, Mu Chen paid no heed to Bai Ming's reaction. The black beam, now mostly depleted of power after piercing through the Frost Phoenix, didn't completely dissipate. With a thought, Mu Chen directed the black beam to turn sharply and head straight for Bai Ming. Clearly, Mu Chen intended to take the opportunity to deal with him. Think you can kill me? Dream on. Bai Ming's pupils contracted as he saw the black beam rushing toward him. He immediately let out a furious shout. Stomping his foot, that a storm of spiritual energy erupted from his body, coalescing behind him into an enormous ice phoenix. The icy crystals on its body shimmered with blinding light, radiating an overwhelming pressure. Bai Ming had been forced to reveal his divine beast form that he leaped onto the back of the colossal ice phoenix, then clenched his hand. The ice phoenix spirit fan appeared in his grasp, emitting a cold current and glowing with an ice blue hue. Frost Phoenix protection. Bai Ming flicked the ice fan, and a wave of ice blue cold currents shot forth. The ice phoenix beneath him erupted with a torrent of ice, instantly forming a massive ice shield in midair, protecting him within. Boom! The destructive light beam surged forward, crashing into the ice shield. The sound of cracking filled the air as cracks spread rapidly across the shield, quickly engulfing the entire surface. Bang! The ice shield finally reached its breaking point, exploding into pieces. Bai Ming, standing atop the Frost Phoenix, was jolted by the shock, spitting out a mouthful of blood. His face darkened with an ominous expression. Whoosh! On the altar, the other powerful figures watching this scene couldn't help but gasp in surprise. No one had expected that in the battle between Mu Chen and Bai Ming, it would be Bai Ming who suffered the first injury. How is this possible? Bai Bin looked on in disbelief, his face turning pale. Beside him, Qi Hongwu's expression grew serious. At this point, anyone still underestimating Mu Chen as just an ordinary 7th grade supreme would be utterly foolish. Bai Ming had clearly met his match. Mu Chen stood atop the great sun indestructible body, his gaze cold as he looked at Bai Ming, who had just spat blood. His expression remained relatively calm, with a hint of regret. Bai Ming's reaction was too quick. As soon as he realized something was wrong, he poured all his strength into defense. The blood was only due to a slight impact. On the other hand, Mu Chen's annihilation divine light had been completely neutralized. The 1,000,000 supreme spiritual liquids were completely consumed, but the effect achieved was merely to cause Bai Ming a slight injury. This guy is indeed quite troublesome. Above the Frost Phoenix, Bai Ming slowly wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His gaze was as dark as ever as he stared at Mu Chen. His voice was a bit hoarse as he said, "How many more attacks like that can you launch?" Mu Chen's attack was terrifying, But Bai Ming understood that such a powerful move must have severe limitations. Otherwise, if Mu Chun were to use it a few more times, no one could withstand it. Want to give it a try? Mu Chun smiled in response. Try if you can. Bai Ming grinned coldly. He suddenly stamped his foot, and the frost phoenix beneath him immediately spread its wings and soared into the air. As its wings flapped, a torrent of cold surged towards the great sun indestructible body. Boom. The great sun indestructible body surged forward at that moment, and a vast golden light poured out, pushing back the terrifying cold current. Then, a continuous barrage of attacks was unleashed. In the sky, the golden light and cold currents howled as the two massive figures collided relentlessly. The impact caused the heavens and earth to tremble. Above the two colossal bodies, two figures blurred past each other like lightning. Their spiritual energy was pushed to its limit, their speed so fast that they left afterimages in midair. In just a few minutes, the two had clashed hundreds of times, each strike seeming capable of tearing apart the world, truly terrifying. On the altar, the onlookers were stunned by the intense battle. The killing intent and overwhelming spiritual energy radiating from the two combatants left everyone with a sense of dread. At this moment, it was clear that both had already become red-eyed with rage. Boom. High in the sky, the great sun indestructible body's massive fist collided with the frost phoenix's giant wing, while Mu Chen struck out with a palm, directly meeting Bai Ming's icy fist. The shockwave swept through, causing both sides to stagger back repeatedly. Their spiritual energy rippled and became chaotic, clearly affected by the force of the impact. The fierce battle was now clearly at a standstill. Damn it, damn it. However, this deadlock only caused Bai Ming's eyes to turn even redder. His pride could not bear the fact that a mere 7th-grade supreme human could entangle him like this. No matter the cost, today, I will make sure you die here. Bai Ming roared, his killing intent surging like a storm. Mu Chun, seeing Bai Ming's ferocious expression, couldn't help but change his stance, his gaze becoming more cautious. He knew that with Bai Ming's strength and status, it was impossible for him not to have some hidden trump cards. He hadn't used them earlier simply because he hadn't wanted to. But now, being pushed back repeatedly, it seemed Bai Ming could no longer hold back. Bai Ming's eyes were bloodshot, his killing intent overwhelming. He glared at Mu Chun, then suddenly stamped his foot again. The frost phoenix beneath him let out a sorrowful cry, and a mouthful of blood was spat out. That blood contained an enormous amount of spiritual energy. Bai Ming pointed his finger, and the frost phoenix spirit fan in his hand flew up, as though opening a giant mouth to directly devour the blood. His face immediately turned ashen. At the same time, the once ice-blue fan began to turn blood red, with crimson veins rising from its surface, creating an ominous and ghastly aura. Bai Ming gazed at the fan's transformation, and his low growl echoed across the sky. Phoenix blood sacrifice. The blood-red fan trembled slightly in the sky, sending out a chilling wind that carried a deeply unsettling, blood-soaked sound. The temperature of the world dropped even further, and the coldness carried with it an eerie chill, as if it could seep into one's bones, corroding the flesh and blood within. That on the altar, the powerful figures watching the scene all had their expressions change dramatically. Even Bai Ming and Qi Hongwu from the Phoenix clan looked shocked. Crazy. Bai Ming is truly crazy. Qi Hongwu's face turned pale, her silver teeth gritting in anger. Does he not realize this will severely damage the semi-sacred artifact? This so-called Phoenix blood sacrifice was an almost suicidal technique. While it could temporarily elevate the power of a semi-sacred artifact to an incredible level, it was a form of overdraw, and it would ultimately cause great harm to the artifact. Right now, Bai Ming, in his desperate attempt to win, has resorted to using such a ruthless tactic out of sheer greed. By the side, Bai Bin's face was stiff as he gazed at the blood-red spirit fan floating in the sky. He couldn't help but swallow hard. He never expected that Mu Chun would push Bai Ming to such an extent. Although a quasi-sacred artifact is rare, as long as we can obtain the immortal bird inheritance blood, it's all worth it. Bai Bin defended Bai Ming. Moreover, this battle is one Bai Ming can't afford to lose. He is a prodigy of the Frost Phoenix clan. If he loses to Mu Chun here, It will be a disgrace to our Phoenix clan. Chi Hongwu's face twisted in anger, but eventually, she slumped in defeat that it was no use. Bai Ming's competitiveness was too strong, and his pride too high. He could never tolerate losing to Mu Chen so. In order to win, he would stop at nothing. But with this, Mu Chen was in danger. After Bai Ming resorted to such tactics, the power of the Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan would be astonishing. Although it still wouldn't reach the level of a true sacred artifact, it would definitely be far stronger than other quasi-sacred artifacts. Facing Bai Ming's boosted combat power, Mu Chen wouldn't stand a chance, even though he too possessed a quasi-sacred artifact. Bai Ming has been forced to this point. It wasn't just Chi Hongwu and the others who were shocked by Bai Ming's tactics. Even on the other two battlefields, Kong Ling and the others were equally astonished, their faces no longer maintaining their usual calm. They were all powerful individuals of the same level as Bai Ming, so they were quite familiar with his methods that if Bai Ming used this move, even they would have to retreat, or they might suffer heavy losses. But now, this move that would make them wary was being used against a human with 7th grade supreme strength that in the past, they would have laughed it off, maybe even mocked it, but the sight before them now silenced their laughter, replaced by a serious expression. They realized that if they were in Mu Chen's place, they would find it difficult to defeat him as well. This human, who was merely at the 7th grade supreme level, was far from as simple as they had imagined. Above in the sky, Mu Chen stood atop the great sun. Indestructible-bodied T2 was looking gravely at the blood-red ice phoenix fan suspended above Bai Ming. From it, he sensed a dangerous aura that sent chills down his spine. That Mu Chen's gaze flickered for a moment. In the next instant, he didn't turn to retreat, because he knew that there was no way back. Retreating would mean abandoning the immortal bird's inheritance blood. He chose to strike first. The annihilation eye on his forehead opened once again. A flash of black light shot out, and a dark beam of energy raced through the sky, heading straight for Bai Ming's head like a lightning bolt. Beneath the blood-red ice phoenix fan, Bai Ming's slightly pale face twisted into a mocking smile. He raised his head and locked his gaze onto the incoming dark beam. Buzz. Just as the beam reached within 10 feet of him, a blood-red cold current suddenly swept through the air, freezing the black beam instantly, turning it into an ice pillar that shattered with a loud crash. Mu Chen's pupils constricted. The power of the Frost Phoenix Spirit Fan had become this strong? This time, I really was blind, being pushed to this point by you. Bai Ming raised his head, his eyes devoid of emotion as he stared at Mu Chen. His voice came out hoarse and slow. But now that it's come to this, regret is useless. To express my gratitude for you forcing me into this position, I will freeze your body and keep it as a trophy, a warning for others. Bai Ming's eyes remained blood-red. He stared at Mu Chen, a twisted grin pulling at the corner of his pale face. As his words fell, his hand reached out, and the blood-red phoenix fan slowly descended, falling into his grasp. With the fan in hand, he remained indifferent. With a single motion, he aimed it at Mu Chen from afar. Buzz! A blood-red cold current surged forth like a storm, its speed unimaginable. Within this cold current, countless ice blades formed, each one red as blood, capable of effortlessly shredding even the peak strength of a 7th grade supreme warrior. The attack was truly terrifying. The blood-red storm rapidly expanded before Mu Chen's eyes. His expression shifted slightly, and he immediately dared not delay. With a thought, the great sun indestructible body erupted with dazzling golden light, forming a golden shield around him. Boom, boom. Countless blood blades rushed in under the sweeping cold current, heavily slashing at the great sun indestructible body. In the face of such a violent attack, the golden light shield around the great sun indestructible body quickly dimmed and eventually shattered with a loud explosion. Cut him, Bai Ming sneered, clenching his hand. The blood-red cold current that covered the sky suddenly condensed into a massive, towering blood-red long sword, which slashed downward, causing the space to crack apart. The sword aimed directly at the great sun indestructible body. Before the sword could land, Mu Chen already sensed a strong sense of danger. His eyes flashed, and with a single hand seal, the spirit of the true phoenix appeared behind him, forming wings of phoenix feathers. With a powerful Flap, his speed skyrocketed, and he turned into a streak of light, shooting backward from above the great sun indestructible body. Whoosh! The blood-red ice blade descended, and in one slash, it cleaved the great sun indestructible body in two. The terrifying sharpness made Mu Chen's eyelids twitch uncontrollably. "You're as slippery as a rabbit." Bai Ming grinned, watching Mu Chen retreat decisively. His gaze then fixed on the phoenix wings behind Mu Chen, where he sensed the aura of the true phoenix. Instantly, his eyes flashed with fervor. "You truly possess a treasure with the aura of our true phoenix." "Heh, seems like I have another reason to kill you." Bai Ming laughed loudly, then stomped his foot. The ice-blue phoenix wings spread out behind him, and in a flash, he appeared directly in front of Mu Chen. The blood-red ice fan in his hand revealed numerous blood veins, resembling arteries, before he suddenly swung it downward. Boom! The blood-red cold current roared like a giant dragon, surging toward Mu Chen. Having witnessed the power of that blood-red ice fan earlier, Mu Chen dared not underestimate it. As his figure quickly retreated, golden light erupted from his body, and his dragon and phoenix body was pushed to its limits, protecting him. Boom! The blood-red cold current howled as it collided violently with Mu Chen's body. The terrifying cold caused the golden light around him to dim, and his body was sent flying backward as if struck by a heavy blow. He crashed to the ground, creating a deep crater nearly 100 feet wide in the hard plaza. The powerful figures on the altar watched with wide eyes as Mu Chen continued to retreat step by step, seemingly unable to stop Bai Ming. Zhu Yu and Mo Ling looked on with pale faces. The battle was so tumultuous, and they hadn't expected Mu Chen, who had once held the upper hand, to be so quickly overwhelmed. Zhu Yu gritted her teeth, her jade hands clenched tightly, her beautiful eyes filled with worry. She even considered asking Mu Chen to withdraw from the fight, willing to give up the immortal bird inheritance blood. But ultimately, she held her tongue, knowing that with Mu Chen's personality, he would never give up. The Mu Chen before them was no longer the young boy from the northern spirit realm. The trials and tribulations he had endured over the years had tempered him into someone resilient and powerful. In the crater, Mu Chen lay in a somewhat disheveled state. His body was covered in bloodstains from the cold current's blades, and blood flowed from his wounds, making him look like a blood-soaked figure. The other strong figures on the altar shook their heads. Regretfully, given his current condition, the outcome seemed clear that Mu Chen had been defeated. However, forcing Bai Ming into this situation was no small feat. Even in defeat, Mu Chen could take pride in this. High above, Bai Ming flapped his ice-blue wings and hovered in the air. Looking down at the crater below, his blood-red ice fan swayed slowly, releasing a terrifying aura. A sneer twisted his lips, and he mockingly said, "Did you ever imagine you'd end up like this? Like a dog with its tail between its legs?" Mu Chen remained motionless in the crater, his eyes closed as if in meditation. Seeing this, Bai Ming shook his head with disinterest and coldly said, "Since you've given up resisting, then die." As his voice fell, the blood-red spirit fan in his hand suddenly shot forward, its rapid flapping conjuring blood-red cold currents that whistled out. They gathered into a massive, towering blood-red tornado, which ascended like a giant dragon, tearing through the heavens and earth, heading straight toward Mu Chen below. Clearly, Bai Ming had already decided to end this battle. Many powerful figures shook their heads in regret. On the altar, Zhu Yu's entire body erupted with spiritual energy, her beautiful eyes gleaming with murderous intent, clearly on the verge of making her move. However, just as the blood-red frost tornado storm howled down, seemingly ready to destroy Mu Chen, who had closed his eyes to await death, his tightly shut eyes suddenly opened at that moment. The instant his eyes opened, his aura seemed to undergo a tremendous shift. It was an aura of determination to become a demon through self-sacrifice. Boom! The blood-red ice storm descended like a massive dragon, and as it did, Mu Chen's tightly closed eyes suddenly snapped open. To everyone's surprise, there was no fear in his black pupils. Instead, they were filled with a terrifying, fervent energy. That fervor was the yearning for a gamble between life and death. To seek life in the face of death, one must have the courage to sacrifice oneself. If one cannot even abandon their own life, If they are filled with fear and hesitation, then how could they find a way out of a deadly situation? Chen slowly stood up from the deep pit, his previously overwhelming spiritual energy gradually dissipating. Gradually, a blood-red aura began to gather around him. This aura was filled with a terrifying killing intent, and it seemed extremely tragic, as if he was willing to give everything to break this deadlock with his life. The overwhelming killing aura surged upwards, forming a whirlwind around Chen. The surrounding giant rocks were pulverized into dust and scattered with the wind, crushed under the pressure of his murderous intent. What's happening? Outside the battlefield, many powerful figures witnessed this scene, their expressions changing slightly. Eyes filled with astonishment and doubt as they gazed at the killing aura surrounding Chen. Their pupils couldn't help but contract. The intensity of that murderous energy sent a chill down their spines. The aura emanating from Chen left them no doubt, no matter what happened next. Even if he were to lose his life and fall into the underworld, he would drag his enemies down with him too. The grave deity was a madman. The many strong figures were shaken by that aura, their faces turning pale. While they had encountered ruthless individuals before, they had rarely seen such a tragic killing intent as Chen's. That's a fist intent. Definitely not a fist intent possessed by top-tier divine arts. But there were still some with sharp insight, and after a moment's contemplation, they suddenly exclaimed in shock that a fist intent not possessed by top-tier divine arts. That meant it had surpassed the realm of divine arts, and above divine arts was the realm of divine techniques. Only those who had truly reached the Earth's supreme level, the super-powerful experts, could wield such power. This meant that Chen before them was actually using a divine fist technique. All the strong figures' eyes blazed with heat. They stared at Chen with fiery eyes. Divine fist techniques were incredibly rare, even in their own clans. Only those who had made immense contributions to the clan could obtain such a treasure. Even elders within their clans couldn't easily acquire them. But now, Chen, of all people, possessed such a treasure. How could they not feel envious? Divine fist technique? At the same time, Bai Ming, who stood high in the sky, looking down at Chen, was also slightly shaken. His grotesque face showed signs of disbelief and surprise. Such divine techniques were naturally possessed by the Cold Phoenix clan, but only a few elder-level figures had access to them. Although Bai Ming had coveted them for a long time, he had never been able to obtain one. Yet now, this divine technique had appeared in front of him, embodied by a mere 7th-grade supreme human. You really do keep surprising me. Humph, divine fist technique? Fine. Once I capture you, all these treasures will be mine. At this point, Bai Ming certainly wouldn't be frightened by Chen, and while divine techniques were powerful, they were also extremely difficult to cultivate. This was one of the reasons he had been unable to obtain one in the Cold Phoenix clan. Therefore, he didn't believe that Chen, with his mere 7th-grade supreme power, could have mastered a divine technique. Die! Bai Ming shouted fiercely, his palm grasping as the blood-red frost tornado storm, aimed at Chen, roared downward, its terrifying power seeming to threaten the destruction of the entire land. Boom! Boom! The awe-inspiring frost tornado storm descended from the sky, rapidly enlarging in Chen's pupils. He slightly lifted his head, then slowly clenched his fingers. The blood-red storm surrounding him grew even stronger, filled with the brutal aura of slaughter that it shot into the sky. Chen's eyes gradually filled with a bloodthirsty red, and then his clenched fist was thrown forward in a simple, unremarkable punch. That punch was incredibly plain, as if it were made without a care. Yet, the moment Chen's fist was thrown, the entire world seemed to tremble strangely. Everyone witnessed the blood-red aura around Chen wildly converge into his fist, erupting in an overwhelming burst. Divine technique. Body sacrifice demon fist. Buzz. The blood-red radiance shot into the sky, and a massive blood-red fist shadow took shape. The fist shadow seemed to have gathered all of Chen's courage and power. This punch, if it didn't kill, it would lead to death. Anyone who stood in its way would perish alongside it. The devastating aura poured out from that fist shadow, sending shivers down the spines of many powerful warriors. Facing such a near-suicidal punch, No one could confront it head-on. Those with even the slightest wavering of will would likely lose all fighting spirit the moment they faced this attack. The blood-red fist shadow howled upwards, enveloping Bai Ming. The lethal aura invaded his mind, and a chill rose in his heart in that instant. He even felt an urge to flee. But Bai Ming, being a genius of the Frost Phoenix clan, and having fought through many bloody battles, took a deep breath, forcefully suppressing the fear in his heart. He understood that at this point, whoever retreated would lose. You think you can scare me with this empty display of power? Bai Ming's eyes glinted coldly. He sneered and slammed his palm down. His strongest attack, the blood-red tornado storm, collided fiercely with the oncoming fist shadow. Boom! At the moment of impact, everyone felt the terrifying shockwave that swept across the sky. Even with the altar's interference, many people outside the battlefield were shaken so violently that their blood surged, nearly forcing them to vomit blood. However, the powerful warriors paid no attention to their own condition. They fixed their gaze on the place where the blood-red explosion had erupted. The space there twisted under the immense pressure. The vast blood-red light spread across the sky, obscuring vision and making it impossible to see through. Bai Ming's eyes remained locked on the area. Moments later, his expression changed drastically as he realized that his most powerful attack was being rapidly dissolved at an astonishing speed. On the square, Mu Chen's expressionless face suddenly twisted into a bloodthirsty grin. Blood-red light flickered in his eyes. He extended his hand and shouted, "Break!" Bang! The blood-red fireworks seemed to explode in the sky. The massive blood-red frost tornado storm exploded violently. The cold current surged, and a blood-red fist shadow, in an invincible posture, ruthlessly tore through the tornado, then shot like lightning toward Bai Ming in the distant sky. Everyone gasped. Bai Ming's strongest attack was forcefully shattered by Mu Chen. How is this possible? Bai Ming's face turned pale, and he roared furiously. He had even sacrificed a semi-sacred artifact to defeat Mu Chen, yet still couldn't stop him. How could this human, a mere 7th grade supreme, be so difficult to deal with? But Bai Ming's roar didn't last long, for he was immediately struck with terror as the blood-red fist shadow pierced through space and charged straight at him. He was so frightened that his soul nearly left his body, and with a frantic flap of his wings, he staggered backward. However, the blood-red fist shadow relentlessly followed. Like a bone-deep, tormenting pestilence, he couldn't escape. Seeing this, Bai Ming could only shout, unleashing a vast burst of spiritual light that it transformed into a massive, several thousand zhang, approximately 3,000 meters, tall frost phoenix. Extreme cold freeze. He roared as immense spiritual energy erupted from the massive body, crystallizing into layers of ice, which rapidly formed a thick layer of ice that covered and enveloped him. He could sense the terrifying power behind Mu Chen's punch, so he abandoned all offense entirely, pouring all his strength into defense. Boom! The blood-red fist shadow, under the stunned gazes of the onlookers, mercilessly smashed into the massive phoenix's ice-covered body. The sky itself seemed to tremble as a cracking sound echoed. Within the ice, the giant phoenix's eyes widened in horror as cracks spread rapidly across its frozen form. But it had never expected its strongest defense to be shattered so easily. Just how terrifying was Mu Chen's punch? Bang! The cracks spread to their limit before finally shattering completely. Ice fragments burst into the air like a frozen storm, and a piercing phoenix cry rang out. Bai Ming's massive body was sent hurtling backward, blood gushing from his wounds. In mere moments, his entire body was stained crimson, making him look like a gigantic, blood-soaked turkey from a distance. On the altar, everyone was stunned, their eyes locked onto the sky. There, the bloody giant phoenix plummeted from the heavens, crashing beyond the altar's edge and slamming into the dark earth below like a blood-red meteor. Blood splattered everywhere, forming what seemed like a crimson lake. The entire altar fell into dead silence. The smiles on Bai Bin and his companions' faces had long since frozen, replaced by utter disbelief. Their expressions were so rigid that they looked almost comical. Even the gathered powerhouses were visibly shaken. It took them a long while to recover, and when they finally did, They collectively drew in sharp breaths. Their gazes remained fixed on the young figure still standing tall in the plaza, their minds roaring with waves of shock. Who could have imagined that Bai Ming, a true prodigy of the Cold Phoenix clan and an undisputed 8th grade supreme, would be utterly defeated, even after exhausting all his means, by a mere 7th grade supreme human? This man was a true monster,